guys are stalling here. A couple more minutes, then we switch over to some Falcon 9 goodness.
Так точно. Внимание! Выходим!
It'll be alright.
Слушаю! Мирно! Готов выдвигаться.
What was that event? It gives me the justification to invade Iran and Afghanistan. And Iraq, which is what I'll do here in a second. But I think it might be time to save here. We will call this Unfinished Business Ethics. Oil? Tessa, who said anything about oil, man? You cooking? Oil? Alright, guys. Let's bees into a Starlink launch here. I'm just gonna... How much coffee do I have? I didn't... Yep, fighting wars makes you drink a lot of coffee, apparently. Let's see. So, SpaceX Starlink 4-5 launch coverage, and then summer car on the other side of space news. So is Germany no longer in your save? There's bits and pieces of it. There's West Germany, and then there's the Socialist German Republic. It'll be gone soon. Don't you worry. Oh, I'm going to try to take over the whole world. Yeah, that's the fun part. This is the fun part. The hard part is fighting the battle. Once you fight the battle, then you're good to go. We'll take over the world. We'll finish with Japan, and then we'll use that as a justification to, they didn't help us fight in Japan. Even though they took the Japanese mainland, they didn't help us. They didn't help us where we were fighting. So we're gonna need to, You slept through the war, oh no! Okay. The details are in the pudding. Invading Japan and America could be tricky without a sizable fleet. I'm working on it. I started going down the carrier tree. I thought today was satisfactory. I switched it, Lunprod, to summer car late last night. I was like, I kind of want to. I want to build the engine out in summer car. Yeah. So tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm going to do hearts and satisfactory and then racing. I think that's what we should do. EJ and the brain, one is a genius, the other is insane. Are you going to man in the low Dacia America? No. You said Icarus and Satisfactory earlier? Oh, yeah, that's right. I told Tessa I'd play Icarus. Okay, so yeah, Hearts is probably the next Hearts playthrough is gonna probably be next week. Because I think I want to play Minecraft on Saturday. So little time, so many freaking games. I like Hearts. You guys like it? I don't think it's the most popular thing that people have seen on this stream, but it is fun. Now that we know what we're doing, we can really have some fun with it. Yeah, assured access to content. Nice way to put that. It's funny seeing you struggle. I don't think I'll struggle anymore. I need to figure out some stuff with division templates, but yeah, it makes a lot more sense now. You can learn to screw it up in wonderful new ways. Yeah. That's what I kind of want to do, passing. I want to do some stupid stuff. Did you ever try workers and resources? We could do workers and resources, yeah. As I understand the game more, PY, though, I'll be able to explain what I'm doing and why I'm trying to do it. It was the same thing with KSP when I learned that. I just kind of had to play it for a little while, and that isn't really fun to watch. And then once I learned how to play it, then I could explain it, and then we can go from there. So let's we don't have the Starlink mission control audio is live, but they should be going live here in a moment. No, Flacken. Personally, I can't wrap my head around Hearts of Iron. Far too complex to understand a game from a noob's perspective. I think you need to explain what you're doing and why more. I can't explain it if I don't understand it, Drummer. That's the thing. So we're gonna need some grind out time. I need some grind out time to understand what the heck I'm doing. Oh man. There's the Space News yawns. I really learned a lot in the past 2 days. I had one of those breakthrough things where you really kind of understand what the heck you're doing. Yeah, and now, I mean, wasn't even fair. We slapped Germany. It was bad. Yeah, they didn't they tried to put up a fight, but yeah, that didn't happen. NSF is live. Well, that's nice. So I'm gonna take 5 real quick, and we'll go from there. I have the SpaceX cast up, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, we're back. We are back. SpaceX, the mission control audio loop is up, but the main stream is not up yet. So what we got here is a Starlink mission. It's the first launch for SpaceX of the year. It's a Starlink 4-5 mission that's launching out of Complex 39A. It's on a Falcon 9 Block 5. And a couple of interesting things. I'm not sure which core this is using. I know it's a reused core, and I know it's reused fairings. I don't know which ones, though. This one is very interesting in that it's launching on a southeast trajectory. It's launching on the descending node, which is interesting. Usually Starlink launches go northeast as opposed to southeast. And here, let me load up Google Earth and I'll show you. It's 1062.4. Oh, interesting. Put NSF up, man. The cast is going to go live in 30 seconds, Sevy. It's not worth it. NSF is worth it, don't get me wrong, but no, we're good. So, Starlink launches usually launch out of the Cape going this way. Up here. Like that. This one is going down here. A little bit of a different trajectory. But, yeah, it's going to skirt the north part of the Bahamas right there. I'm not sure why. It's probably just orbital mechanics that caused that phasing. So, I wouldn't read too much into it. But yeah, it still is interesting. It's interesting because they usually don't go that way. But, yeah. Hugging the Bahamas coast. Yeah, indeed. Is it about the rotation of Starlink satellites crisscrossing to cover a grid? Well, Slow Chief, here's the thing. There's a slot for these satellites to go in. Here, let me show you stuff in .space. There's a slot for these things to go in. If we go... Actually, we could just do Starlink. Right? There's a slot. These diagonals right here is one of them. The thing is that, see this slot right here? Starlink 1071? This orbit right here. That one is launching northeast out of Florida right now would get you into the 1071 orbit, right? You know, if they waited 12 hours and they went over here, they could launch southeast and be in the same exact orbital path. That's why it's just a matter of orbital mechanics. It basically just means that, you know, the slot that they're aiming for crosses Florida when it's going in the southward trajectory. So that's what I mean about launching on the ascending and descending nodes. If you launch on the descending node, that means the satellite is going from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere. Straight up, going northwest to southeast. If you launch on the ascending node, which is what they usually do, just not for any particular reason. I bet you it's a little bit easier to launch it that way because there's nothing there. There's the Bahamas in the way. They got to go around it. If you're launching over here on the ascending node, the satellite's going southwest to northeast. But either way, if you wait 12 hours, you could launch in the same window. The reason why SpaceX probably took this trajectory is not because they're trying to do 1071. They're probably trying to get into this type of orbit right here. They're probably using that one. They're probably trying to get into this one. So this is an orbit with an apogee of 556 by 553 at a 53-degree inclined inclination with an orbital period of 95 minutes. So, relatively zero eccentricity, 53 degrees inclined. This is quite literally the same orbit as this. It's the same orbital parameters with one difference. The longitude of the ascending node. So basically, how we clock the orbits, if you look at them like this, we use longitude, and we use the ascending node when it goes from southern hemisphere to northern hemisphere. Where that point that it passes, the longitudinal point that passes is a way to clock the orbit relative to the Earth, right? It's called longitude of ascending node, or you can call it right angle of ascending node. That's probably a better way to put it. That it's one of the aspects of orbital mechanics. It's one of the 6 variables that define how orbits work in space. One of them is inclination, eccentricity, semi-major axis, right angle of ascending node, argument of perigee, and then time of perigee passage. So, T-minus 20 vent. Roger. I'm at Cape Canaveral Space Force Base and have a direct view of the rocket going to get a great show. Yep, Stroker. Yep. So, once again, trying to get into this orbit right now, it's the exact same orbit, except the ascending node position is in a different spot than, let's say, this orbit over here. It's the same orbit, it's just shifted. That's all. So, I honestly think that they're launching southeast just because they're trying to get satellites into nope, not that one. This one's orbit right here. Which, like I said, if they waited 12 hours, Earth did a half a rotation, they could launch northeast into the same orbit. The Earth spins underneath this constellation of satellites.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
These guys live yet? Nope, not live. Interesting. To be honest, I think they're trying to fill the orbit with one over the gap in between the two descending coming up. It's probably more just that's the slot that's open, Tessa, and you need to get these satellites up there. But yeah, you could be right. I don't know. Diagonalizer, 6-month resub. Thanks, man. Those are all the current Starlink sats. Didn't expect so many. Yeah, this isn't even close to being finished. It's very intermittent. And they even have some that are in polar orbit. These satellites, 3051 and 3071, those launched out of Vandenberg a little while back. They're trying to launch them up here so they can get polar sat coverage out over Alaska. So they can get Starlink sat coverage out over Alaska. See how this track goes over? Like way into the top of the northern hemisphere? Yeah, there's 1,500 Starlink satellites up there. They've been up there for a while. Got an itch on my ear. How many Starlink sats do you need for internet? Well, Slow Chief, 1, technically. It's the bandwidth. More satellites, more bandwidth. Simple as that. It's the way the satellites communicate with each other. You could theoretically just need 1. 1 on the horizon would do you fine. But the more satellites that are in range, the more satellites that the phased array Starlink receiver antenna can bounce the signal off of, basically you'll have lower ping and higher band. Well, not necessarily lower ping, higher bandwidth. With laser communication, latency goes down. Latency goes down, but bandwidth doesn't. Bandwidth stays the same. You need more satellites to convey more information. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. I think I said that right. I know there's people out there that know this way better than I do. I know about the rocket side of things, not so much the Starlink stuff. Just double check me and make sure that I said that correctly. Oh yeah, baby. Hello? Hello? Is there no music here? Hey, Karen. Curly, what's going on? Jarvis, what are they launching today? Starlink satellites. Tape, how you doing? Yeah, Tessa. What's going on with James Webb on Stuff in Space? It shouldn't even be in the picture, Slow Chief. It's not even in Stuff in Space. It's way further out. There is music on yours? Oh, tab's muted. Got it. Thanks, Fatman. I muted the tab just in case that the cast would pop up while I was on break, but it didn't, so. It's not polar, Swishio. They're not launching from Vandenberg. This is launching from 39A. And it's launching, it's not totally polar. It's launching on a southeast trajectory. I don't think these are polar Starlinks. But we'll listen for the cast. I could be wrong. What you said about latency bandwidth is a safe bet, but it's all reliant on the specifics of how they've implemented it. Got it. What goes with a rocket launch, honey? Give me a White Claw. Real men drink White Claw. Are we due for Crew 3 soon? Yeah. Let's check rocketlaunch.live. When is this launch, Machete? About 15 minutes from now?
Discovery, go and throttle up.
LWO1 WeatherNet, liftoff conditions.
Pretty good.
ESTS is
We'll check that in a second.
Ignition. Liftoff.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
10, 9, 8,
Side
Hey,
booster
that
ignition.
was a good day.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Hey, Hatron. What's up, man?
Good
I like
afternoon.
launches. Yeah, me too.
It's Thursday, January 6th, and welcome to SpaceX's first launch of 2022. On your screen is a live
Jesse?
view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 4:49
Dude, look
p.m.
at the
Eastern
shadow
Time
being
launch
cast on the
from
condensation.
historic Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. My name is Jesse Anderson, and I'm a production and engineering manager for Falcon here at SpaceX headquarters, joining you from Hawthorne, California. Thank you for tuning in
gonna
for
go over
our
there.
first launch of 2022 and 35th
Wrong
launch
picture.
of Starlink. As many of you may know, Starlink is a constellation of satellites that orbit the planet at about 550 kilometers above the Earth. Because Starlink does not rely on traditional ground
Rocketlaunch.live.
infrastructure,
Yep,
it is
should.
ideally suited for areas of the globe where connectivity has typically been a
Southeast
challenge
Corsi.
or non-existent, such as rural or remote communities. With every launch, we expand our network as well as our ability to serve communities in remote locations all around the globe. If for some reason we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow, but the latest weather forecast shows 80% favorable for liftoff today, and you can see the clear skies on your screen there. The Starlink satellites will deploy about 15 minutes after liftoff, but unfortunately we will not have ground station coverage,
There you go, Neb.
which means we won't have live audio or visual confirmation of payload deployment in real time. Now, given that, we'll end our webcast just after second engine cutoff and confirm deployment on social once we regain coverage. Now, the vehicle, satellites, weather, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just a few minutes from now. So let's take a closer look at the rocket on your screen. Falcon 9 is our two-stage launch vehicle and stands about 70 meters tall. When fully fueled, it'll hold just over 1 million pounds of propellant, and the vehicle will burn through most of that less than 3 minutes after liftoff.
Yeah,
We
Forge,
prepped
it's
Falcon
fine.
9 for launch in our hangar at the base of the pad. Now, upon completing
Talk
final
about that
checkouts,
later.
Falcon 9 rolled out to the pad with the Starlink satellites and went vertical on Wednesday around 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Then from there, we proceeded to clear the pad earlier today to support liftoff. The bottom two-thirds of the vehicle is what we refer to as the first stage, or the booster. The booster supporting today's mission will be flying for the 4th time.
I'm good, Neb.
And you may be able to see the slip markings left over from this booster's previous 3 flights, having supported the Inspiration 4, GPS 3, Space Vehicle 4, and 5 missions.
Cool.
The first stage accelerates the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere
how this
into
booster has
space
been
with the help
reused
of
4
9
times and nobody
Merlin
cares.
engines
It's
at the
like,
base of the
all right.
rocket. Following separation from the second stage, we will be attempting to recover the first stage
drama.
for a 4th time on our drone ship, a short fall of Gravitas, staged off the coast of Florida in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, if successful, it will mark the 101st recovery of a first stage booster. At the top of the first stage is the black carbon fiber inner stage connected to the Falcon 9 second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine. Now, once the first and second stages separate at about 2.5 minutes into the mission, the MVAC engine will ignite to
Turnaround
carry
time on
the Starlink
boosters?
satellites to their drop-off orbit.
Takes about a month.
Now, the stack of satellites is safely
It's the
enclosed
demand.
inside of the
They can turn around
17-foot
boosters
diameter
quicker.
payload fairing, which you can see there on your screen.
Hey,
That's
JJ.
that structure at the very top of the rocket. This protects the payload from the aerothermal loads, heating, and contamination
floating. I
during
lost
ascent.
count.
Well,
at least
once we reach
5.
the vacuum of space, we no longer need this protection, so we will jettison the fairing halves as the second stage continues on its journey to orbit.
Wait a minute. Any construction work
Just
being
as
done
we
there?
reuse Falcon
Something's
9, we
being done
recover and
behind the
reuse
fairing.
our fairing halves.
See?
The fairing halves we're using today are flight proven, with one half flying for the 5th time and the other for a
We got a
4th
little bit
time.
of a tank farm going down there.
We will be attempting to recover both fairing halves using our recovery vessel Doug in order to support future missions.
What's the fairing made out of? The fairing is... Picture an Oreo cookie in your mind. Okay? Are you doing it? Now you're hungry, aren't you? No, picture an Oreo. The fairing is actually made out of carbon fiber and aluminum honeycomb. So the aluminum honeycomb is the filling from the Oreo, and the carbon fiber is woven on both sides. The reason why they do that is because the carbon fiber makes the fairing really, really light. You don't want the fairing to be heavy. The heavier the fairing is, the less heavy the payload can be, right? So they make it out of aluminum to keep it rigid, right? But it's carbon fiber wrapped in aluminum like an Oreo cookie. It takes a little while to make those things that way. You have to make the aluminum shell first, and then you have to put the aluminum shell on a mandrel, wrap the carbon fiber over it on both sides, and then you got to put it in an autoclave, which is like a big pressure cooker for fairings. It's baked like a cookie. It's carbon fiber and aluminum honeycomb. The fairings are not very structurally strong, except when they're together. The things will wobble around almost like paper, like cardboard almost. Actually, cardboard is kind of made in the same way. It's 2 pieces of paper with a squiggly paper in between.
Reason we do not launch today, we do have a backup launch opportunity tomorrow at 4:28
This is a latching mechanism
p.m.
with
Eastern
compressed
time.
air, Sile. Fairings...
Now, thanks.
The fairing separation system on most rockets is a pneumatic system. Basically, they have nitrogen bottles, could be helium, but they have nitrogen bottles on each fairing half. And then up at the top is like an RCS, and then the latch is released, and the RCS clicks open, and fairing moves away. SpaceX took that pneumatic system that is already on the fairing and took it to the next level, making it RCS, right? And then they gave it a parachute to sail the fairings back down so they could reuse them, which is actually pretty cool.
Aftermath
But most
of
fairings
the
have a
floods
pneumatic
in
system
Germany
built
last
into them.
July. And in addition to assisting first responders, our Starlink service has helped connect communities where high-speed internet was previously unavailable.
Thanks, Forge.
Most recently, Starlink is working with
This is the
Cuba
4th launch
independent
for this one,
schools
Ryzen?
in eastern Navajo Nation in New Mexico to provide internet.
This Falcon 9 has flown 3 previous flights, GPS-3, SVO-4, and SVO-3 and SVO-4, so 2 GPS missions, and then Inspiration 4. So this is its 4th flight. I know, it's like, oh, only 4 flights? Jeez.
County Independent School District and Virginia's Wise County Public School District
Saturday
connect
Night
to better
Internet could ever
broadband
make
service in
building
order to
ground
receive
wiring
online
unprofitable?
health care, access to education, and more. In the Wise County School District, where lack of broadband access is particularly prevalent in the mountainous regions, SpaceX connected 45 student homes last year.
Dude,
with
Slow Chief, I don't ever think that it'll totally replace it. I don't think satellite will totally replace ground infrastructure.
Additional student homes across
It's like how, once the car came about, everybody thought it was going to replace the train. Nah. Nah, not really. There will always be a case used for both of them in the future.
And Falcon 9 is progressing into the final stages of the launch countdown.
Strong back retract has started.
And we just heard a call out for a strong back retract.
Yeah,
that is the trusted structure next to the vehicle,
Look at the shadow
which we
from
call
the
the
old
transport
RSS.
erector, or TE. And what it's going to do is it's going to start to retract away from the vehicle. But in preparation for that, we do open the clamp arms that you can see kind of near the bottom of that fairing on your screen.
Yeah, even something like that.
Once those clamp arms are open, the transporter erector will begin to pull away from the rocket slightly. And you can see it, it's very slight at the bottom of your screen. Those clamp arms are opening up there.
Hey, Alex. You can see the fairings are scorched up at the nose, up at the top, from flying in space previously, from re-entry. Now, the strongback, as Jesse was saying
We
on the
should
cast,
see the TE start to
that way.
retract here shortly, and
Jesse,
there it
I
is.
got this.
It's very slow and steady, but it is moving back away from the vehicle there. The TE is the structure that provides liquids, gases, electrical connections to the second stage, as well as air conditioning to the payload fairing. Again, this TE retracting away helps to clear the way for the vehicle as it lifts off.
Those have been there for a while, Sevi, I think. Yeah, it happens, Defrig.
And it looks like the TE retraction has completed.
Yeah, the whole thing is not as strong as you think it is.
And we also heard the call out for LOX load on first stage completion.
Yeah, she is.
So at this point in the
that.
countdown,
That's
both the
normal.
first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. And those white clouds that you can see on your screen around Falcon 9 are created when the propellant
Slow Chief, there
oxidizer,
has
super
to be.
chilled liquid oxygen,
Payloads
comes
will
in
overheat
contact
inside
with
of
that
that fairing,
warmer, humid
especially in
ambient
Florida.
air and basically densifies
Stage
the
2
air.
LOX, throttle back.
I'm on a break from KSP, Grace.
Both first and second stage are finishing up prop loading. Actually, first stage has completed at T-minus 3 minutes, and second stage will complete at T-minus 2 minutes, coming up here in about 15 seconds. And at T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup. That means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown.
Water from the sound suppression system is flowing over the camera. Here, let me zoom it in. Yep, see the water coming off. That means that the sound suppression system, the water tower, is tanked and ready to go. They use a gravity-fed sound suppression system for this rocket. Basically, there's a little valve down here. When that valve opens, the water shoots down, and then it shoots up onto the pad and sprays out to spray the pad down with water. They do that for sound suppression, and they do that to help kind of quench the flames that come out. It's called a pad deluge and sound suppression system. Pad deluge is usually below the rocket. Sound suppression is on the pad. So you should hear them call a second stage closeout here in a moment.
Falcon 9's in startup.
Okay.
There's that call out. Falcon 9's autonomous internal flight computers
50
have now
seconds.
taken over the launch countdown, just awaiting the final go from the launch director.
It's
LD, go for launch.
Pharaoh, give it a second.
And great news,
Look
we
around
are
the
go
bottom
for
of
an
the pad at
on-time
about T-minus
liftoff.
2.
Let's listen into the terminal count
See
and
these
watch
things
as
right
Falcon
here?
9 takes our 49 Starlink satellites
water?
into a 53-degree
that-
south inclination orbit.
T-minus 30 seconds.
That means the system is primed right there. And when it hits T-minus 0, these things will turn on and they'll shoot water out at the pad. There's another set of 4 on the other side. But you see how the water's coming out a little bit? The valve will open
T-minus 15.
right when they light the engines. T-minus 10.
T-minus 5, 4, 3,
See?
2, 1. Lift off.
There they go. We're flying today. Separation looked good. Everything looked real good. Starchface, 26-month resub. Thank you.
Stage 1 chamber pressure is
Pretty cool,
nominal.
Pharaoh, isn't it? All right. Everything looks good here. That's ice that accumulates on the booster. That's what that stuff coming off of it is. It's totally normal. It'll shake off. Now, if you see like flames going up the bottom of the booster that looks like they're not like kind of coming out the side, totally normal. As the pressure drops, the gases kind of get sucked up behind the rocket. It creates a vacuum up in there. So if it looks like the flames are like traveling up the side of the
T
rocket,
plus
it's totally
45
normal.
seconds. into liftoff, and Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy
Everything
Space
looks good
Center,
here.
carrying our stack of 49 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Now, moments ago, we did throttle down the engines in preparation for max Q, and that is maximum aerodynamic pressure.
That's basically when the rocket's going fast enough where it can't move the air out of the way. And because it can't move the air out of the way,
And there's the call out that
it
we
starts
just passed
compressing the
through
vehicle.
max Q. That is the largest structural load that the vehicle will
the
see
coast of
throughout
Florida right
ascent.
there.
Now
Take it
coming
out a little bit
up,
more specific.
we will have 3 events happening in quick succession. That'll be main engine cutoff, or what we call MECO, stage separation, and second stage engine start 1, or SES1.
Because they are, Jay. It's because of the way it is.
MECO is where all 9 of the M1D engines shut off and slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation.
See, it looks like the flames are
Vac
kind
engine
of
chill has started.
traveling up the rocket.
And that's just a call out that the
Great
engine chill
shots
on the
today.
second stage
Right in the
is
golden
getting
hour, man. Look at
ready,
the contrast on that
for
picture.
ignition.
A lot of really nice colors.
Stage separation is
You
where the
wanna
first
shoot-
stage
you get
separates
the best
from the second stage, and
kind of
with
pictures
first stage
at
returning
dusk.
back to Earth for landing, while stage 2 continues on its journey with the third event, SES1, or second stage engine start 1.
That's Jesse, Alex.
And that's
yeah.
where the MVAC engine ignites
sure,
up
Harp.
and propels the second stage along with the Starlink
up,
satellites
Panther?
to their targeted
It's not
drop-off
retro
orbit.
bullshit.
We're just about 10 seconds or so away from those 3 events, and they will be followed by fairing deploy shortly after SES1 as well.
Okay. So you're looking up the business end of the second stage here?
separation confirmed.
Okay. Stand by for upper stage ignition.
MVAC ignition.
Stiffen ring separation. Everything looked good there. Textbook. Watch this.
Bearing separation confirmed.
Fairing go. Boop. There it goes. Bye-bye.
We have got some great views, all 4 of those events that I mentioned, MECO, stage separation, SES1, and fairing deploy,
There's the
all
fairing right there.
visually
See it?
confirmed on your
See
screen.
the fairings?
Now, the fairing halves flying on
pretty
today's
neat.
mission are both flight proven, with one half supporting its
I'm not
5th
sure,
flight and the
Alphonse.
other supporting its 4th flight on today's mission. So we will be attempting to recover the halves again using our recovery vessel, Doug, to hopefully support
Doug.
future missions. And on your left-hand screen is a view of the first stage. You can see the grid fins have deployed
Yeah, for
there.
sure, Ian.
Those help guide the vehicle
acceleration on the
back
second
to
stage
its
is-
landing zone. And on your right-hand screen is stage 2.
I know, Rezel. It's pretty awesome.
Now, as that heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit, stage 1 will execute
Chief,
2 burns in order to make its way
They're about
back
500
to Earth.
miles off the coast.
The first
you ain't gonna
is
get
the
your
entry
fishing
burn,
boat out
where
there.
3 of the M1D engines will reignite, and this helps to slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper part of the Earth's atmosphere.
A little bit of solid
Then the
nitrogen
second burn
coming off the
is
booster
the
there on
landing
left.
burn. This is the single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down very rapidly in order to touch down on our drone ship. Again, a short
It's not a
fall
West
of
Coast ship,
gravitas
Amanda,
today.
but yes.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
Okay, they have AOS through Bermuda,
And
but that's
that's
only going
just
to be
a
for a
call out
second
that
because
we
they're going
have
south.
connected with a ground station on the second stage.
Africa Imperator.
And as you can see on your screen, we've got some incredible views today.
What
A
altitude is
daytime
this
launch
first stage at?
with Earth looking amazing in the background. Of
132
both
kilometers
the first
up.
and second stage views.
Or about 80 miles, 80, 85 miles up there. It's a long way. The stage goes fast.
Now we're just
man.
under 2 minutes away from the entry burn starting up on the first stage. So for those of you who follow,
Okay, Harp. Have fun with that.
we've got a nominal trajectory call out on second stage, which is great news.
Why
Now
does it
you'll
look
notice
like the
that
foil around the vacuum engine is
there
inflated?
is soot on some of these rockets that
There's
we
no-
reuse.
There's no
and
no
here's a
pressure
quick
inside or out.
explanation
It's
of
just kinda
why and how that soot forms.
hanging there. If there's a
The
vent
rocket
line
grade
inside of it,
kerosene, or
it'll
RP1,
expand.
used to
I
fuel
don't
a
know if
Falcon
there
9
is
is
for sure.
carbon-based. So when it burns the fuel, it generates soot. Now, as the booster approaches landing, as you can see on your left-hand screen, it does a re-entry burn to slow the vehicle down prior to re-entering back into the Earth's atmosphere. Otherwise, the aerodynamic forces would rip it apart. So because the entry burn occurs with the engines first, the booster flies through its own plume. And that is what deposits the soot onto the rocket. And again, we're just about a minute away from that entry burn, so you will see that live on your screen.
That's the heat shield for the booster, guys. You could say it's called... the entry burn here. The first stage is going fast. It's going 7,400 kilometers an hour. It's pretty quick. You see over here? It's got to slow down because it's going to experience some re-entry.
Again, we've got some great views of our Starlink mission
so
today.
what SpaceX does...
on your left-hand screen, that is the first stage booster making its way back to Earth, and on your right-hand screen is the second stage taking the satellites to their drop-off orbit.
So what the booster does is it fires its engine
Stage 1 FTS is
to get the re-entry heat away from the vehicle. They're going to do it here in a second, watch. They'll fire the engines, and that pushes the plasma that accumulates on the bottom from entry heating.
Entry burn startup.
And there you can visually see
to
on
make
your
sure the
left-hand
booster
screen,
gets through, 'cause it doesn't
the
have a
entry
heat
burn
shield.
has
That
begun
is the
on
heat
that
shield
first
right there.
stage.
You could call it...
This will
supersonic
last
pressure.
about 20 seconds or so long.
It's fine, Alex.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
Stage 2 FTS
Okay,
is
now
safe.
watch. The grid fins will steer
And that
this sucker
concludes
in.
the entry burn on the first stage. And really cool, you can kind of see the grid fins as they rotate to help guide the vehicle back to its landing zone, which
Really nice-
again
really
today
nice
is a
lighting here today.
shortfall of gravitas waiting for this
Oh,
booster
little bit of
in
signal
the
breakup.
Atlantic Ocean.
We lost it. Lost first. They didn't lose the stage. We lost signal. Lost signal. Not the first stage. First stage is fine. Is it a coincidence that the booster landing time is so close to second stage engine cutoff, or is there something mathematical about the timing?
We're
Just
just
coincidence, Alex.
under a minute away from the landing burn beginning on the first stage.
So we gotta listen.
Again, have
Listen
some
to the
incredible
calls from the
views.
flight
This is-
controller.
Transonic.
Okay, stage 1 is
This is a view of the
transonic,
aft
meaning
end of
it's
the
slowing
second
down
stage,
below the
looking at
sound.
the MVAC
below the speed
engine.
of sound.
So we are going to have landing burn coming up on first stage. That'll last about 20 seconds long, and right when landing burn ends, we should have
People have asked it before,
SECO
Orange.
1 or second engine cutoff 1 on second stage.
It's just a really high field of view, Ogle. So
Stage 1 landing burn startup.
they use weird optics with the engineering cameras so they can see everything. So engineering cameras in space have a lot of high contrast, a lot of weird focal lengths and
There's
stuff.
that call out that the
It's
landing
just so
burn
they can
has
see
begun
stuff.
on first
There's a live
stage.
shot from the landing ship.
And it looks like we have a live view
Stage
of the
1
drone
landing
ship.
leg deploy.
Okay, there's first stage view is back, and look good.
Stage 1 landing is complete.
And we have
Vent down is
touchdown
complete.
of Falcon 9.
Good.
And
Look,
through the cheering, we
it
also heard
screwed
that
the
call out for
encoder.
SECO 1,
Look, the legs
which is
are up
great
there.
news. Our booster
Oh, the
landing
encoder.
today marks our 101st overall successful recovery of a first stage and
We have NOI
and
on the second stage.
134th successful flight of a Falcon 9 first stage. We also heard
Very
a
good.
nominal orbital insertion
There's
for
bullseye.
stage 2. So with that call out, next
Expected
up
loss of signal, Cape.
Next up will be payload deploy of our 49 Starlink satellites. Now today's launch marks the
Expected loss
first.
of signal, Bermuda.
Yeah,
Today's
the
launch marks
signal
the
over Bermuda
first
would be very
East
quick.
Coast launch to a 53-degree south inclination. We're flying in the south degree trajectory to increase recovery weather availability for both the booster and fairing halves during the winter months. Now we are waiting for the
There's your
deployment of
reason right
our
there.
49
We were wondering
Starlink
about that.
satellites, which is scheduled to occur about 6 minutes from now. But as I mentioned, we won't have live audio or visual confirmation of payload deployment due to the lack of ground station coverage. We will acquire signal with our ground station in Kodiak,
Yeah, we're
Alaska
done.
at
Nice.
T plus 1 hour and 20 minutes. So for those of you interested, we will keep the audio-only countdown nets up on our YouTube channel, and we'll confirm
see what I
successful
can do,
payload
please.
deployment on our social channels. Now with
Can you-
that, we'll be bringing our webcast to a close for today. Thank you for joining us for the first launch of 2022 and our 35th launch of Starlink to date.
They've done it
A
before.
big thank
Sushi,
you
I
to
guess.
the Range and Federal Aviation Administration for supporting today's mission. If you're interested in signing up for Starlink service, head over to starlink.com. Thanks for watching, and
got
we'll
you,
see you
Zanny.
next time.
All right. What is the status with Starship? It's gonna take a little bit. The programmatic assessment for Starship is gonna be concluded sometime at the end of February. So Starship is they're just building up. They're just finishing building the pad. Yeah, came here. That's
Go at throttle up.
the inclination is not 100 degrees. No. Here, it's 52 degrees inclined. But it's 52 degrees inclined on the descending node. If we back it up a little bit, 52 on the descending, dude. That's all. It's not 100. 100 would be over here. 100 would be that way. Yeah, you got your numbers flipped around. Why haven't they figured out a way to capture the landing in a better way? I'm sure there must be many ways to get a lossless signal. There's no cell towers 400 miles out in the middle of the ocean, Pharaoh. The signal only needs to be good enough to receive telemetry from the vehicle. The pictures are honestly just a bonus. As long as they can get the data stream from the vehicle, it doesn't matter. The pictures are just for our entertainment, dude, and engineering footage. But the engineering footage doesn't necessarily need to be in real time, especially the pictures. It's the telemetry from the vehicle that needs to be in real time. That's very important. Maybe they could use Starlink. They do use Starlink. Starlink isn't completed yet, but we almost got... It really depends on where the drone ship is. The recovery zone isn't in the same spot every time, guys. We've had better coverage when the drone ship was over here, when they launched transporter missions, or Salcom, out of the Cape that went out and around. We had a little... We got that coverage all the way down because it was close to Miami. Hey, Horizon, thanks for the host. Yeah... It's tough getting a cell signal out there, guys. Long story short. Can I ask why you quit playing Ksp? I don't ever remember saying that I quit playing Ksp. I took a break. I'll go back to playing Ksp soon. I took a break because of the holidays. Pain in the butt. Anyway. Excited to not pay a fortune for in-flight Wi-Fi. Starlink Hari pulls. Yeah. Spiffy, what airline do you usually fly? I fly JetBlue, man. The seats are a little bit more expensive on JetBlue, but Wi-Fi's free, man, and it's a good signal. I want to watch the satellites get deployed. Quad, I'm sorry, they didn't have signal, so they stopped the webcast. They should be deployed like right about now. They didn't have a ground tracking station down there. Alaska generally, because Pacific Northwest, and it's never cheaper than like $15 for 2 hours. Ugh. No. I don't know, Alex. Maybe. JetBlue doesn't fly out west, unfortunately. Oh, that sucks. But yeah, it was a good launch. Everything looked good. That pretty dang textbook. That booster landed. Here, let's see if I can get you a shot of that. I mean, not bad for out in the middle of the ocean. Let's see. Yeah, we got a signal back right at the end. So if you guys look, a couple of cool things here. They spray the landing pad down with water. They spray the landing pad down with water so it film cools the deck. This is part of the reason why the rocket engine, see, if you see it's all wet. That's not because it's out in the ocean. I mean, that probably has something to do with it, but they spray the thing down with water. So instead of the rocket engine melting the deck of the drone ship, it just turns the water into steam. The water absorbs all the heat. It's called film cooling. They film cool the deck. So the rocket just evaporates all the water instead, and the water absorbs all the heat, so the drone ship doesn't get too messed up when the rocket goes to land. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, I know. It'll probably be gone by Monday, though. Yeah, see? So another couple of cool things. You can see them bring the tanks down from flight pressure. That's the tank vent up there. And then they purge out the engines with nitrogen to make sure that nothing catches on fire down there. That's what all those little vent things are down the bottom. Yeah, there you go, Smoke, right? If they wanted to, can they make a flying tracking station plane cover the signal for today's launch? Yeah, but why? I mean, Sile, NASA can track Dragon capsules through re-entry with a WB-58, which is pretty rad. What caused the damage on the first stage? Nick, rough seas, long story short. I wish we could see Octa grab a rollout and grab Falcon. Yeah, it's probably doing it right now, Jim. Yeah, Jim, right? Yeah, freaking real player. Oh, God, I remember that. When you downloaded it and you had to stop the download halfway, so you went and played it and half of it's corrupted. Oh, jeez, why did you need to bring that up? QuickTime is where it's at. Why did you have to bring that up? That was repressed memories, man. Yeah, freaking this. You go to watch the TV show that you freaking downloaded, and it looks like this when you're done. It's such a pain in the butt. Why did you bring that up? Why did you bring that up, man? Damn. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The early Divx movie. Oh, Divx. Oh god. What year is it? Yeah, Ando. Stop this. You stop this now. You stop this now. When will then be now? Soon. YouTube. Broadcast yourself. Oh, jeez. Why are you doing this? So, hey, SpaceX got one launch in the books. So here, let's see. Let's look at future launches. Let's see what we got. The next one is Launcher 1, which is a rocket that flies up into space launched off of a 747, which is pretty cool. That's scheduled in about a week. And then we got another Falcon 9, Transporter 3, which is a bunch of small satellites stacked on top of each other. It's called a rideshare mission. There's not like one big satellite. There's like 30 small satellites from 30 different companies. And they just stack them all like Legos inside of the payload fairing. Transporter missions are really cool. Once again, that's called a rideshare mission. That's what they got basically about a week out. And then everything else is tentative. So no set times for any of this stuff. There's an Atlas at Slick 41 for the Space Force 8 mission right there. ABL, which is a commercial launch company trying to pioneer low-cost expendable small-sat launching. They got their first flight for the end of the month, and then the rest of this is all tentative. There's Firefly Alpha. That one's probably going to get pushed back. They've gone through some financial restructuring, from what I understand, to put it nicely, but that'll get pushed a little bit. There's Electron with the Black Sky 3 mission, which are observation satellites. And then I'm not sure what Razor is. I'm not sure what that mission is. And then CSG-2, I'm not sure what that is either. That's how far out I've done my research. About a month. Because this schedule's, it's in flux so much. It moves left and right. Everything moves up. Everything moves back. Left, right, up, down. And then SpaceX even has a heavy launch, USSF-44. We know that Falcon Heavy is down at the Cape. And it was ready about 6 months ago. They're waiting on the payload. I financially restructure every month when my credit card company demands a payment. Yes. And And then SpaceX has a National Reconnaissance Office mission, so the L-87 mission, scheduled for February 2nd. Soyuz first launch of the year is in February. Progress MS-19, which is a resupply ship for the ISS. And then Antares on February 19th with the CRS-2 NG-17 Cygnus capsule, which is another ISS resupply. That one's launching out of Mid-Atlantic in Virginia, which is cool. Yeah, a lot of launches for Q1 this year. Did you guys know that, just on a side note, last year was the most amount of launch attempts ever attempted? More rockets launched last year than any time in history, which is actually really cool. Like, we bested the space race days last year with total amounts of launches from all countries, which is really cool. How's the Hoonigan truck doing, by the way? Fine, yeah. When will EJ become just a launch streamer? Would you want that, Plums? I still want to play games, man, just because Twitch is a gaming website. That's the heart of Twitch. That's what Twitch stands for. Twitch gaming. It's a throwback to, I guess the kids would call it flick of the wrist today. They wouldn't even call it that. I don't even know what you'd call it. But I always do want to play games on this channel. Yeah. How many launches? 133. 144 attempts, 133 successful. Thanks, Phil. Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Panta. Flick of the mouse. That's right, Monkey. You got it. Yeah, so rocket launches can cause twitches too if the thing blows up, Spiffy. But yeah, I always want to play games, dude. I don't think I'd ever go to just rocket launches. Maybe, like, I'm not going to rule it out, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Nice username, that's cool. But yeah. Well, what happens when there's a launch daily? I don't know, Plums. I never really even thought about that. If we get to the point where there's like 6 or 7 launches every day, I mean, I don't think covering that would get boring. People wouldn't care. This would just turn into a 24/7 launch coverage thing. It would be like those streams that track like planes launching out of places and stuff, like launching out of airports. I don't know. Do we get to the point where we just kind of cover it in the background? I mean, I can't just survive off launches alone. Not every launch is going to be like a launch to the moon, for instance, you know? What do you think of Blue Origin's Orbital Reef Space Station plans? It's a good idea, Gujar. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, Zonku, I suppose they would just move to high profile, but games are the bread and butter for the channel, dude, because it's a Twitch stream, you know? Look, call me a dinosaur, man. I've been on this platform for a very long time. Very long time. I don't want to not play games ever. I just can't picture myself doing that unless, like, the only thing that would draw me away from playing games all the time is if there were launches all the time that people cared about. Like, it's going to get to the point where these launches are boring and people aren't going to watch, because that's how the internet is. It's boring. But that's one of SpaceX's stated goals, to make it boring, you know? You'll be streaming the metaverse. Ugh. What do you think the view count will be when the moon landing happens? Don't know, Sirius. I don't know. Good day when we have to pick. Yeah, you're damn right, Jim. You're damn right. Well said. Yeah, of course, Kamir. Yeah. I don't know. What happens when launches happen so much that I get more viewers playing games than I do watching a rocket launch? What happens then? We're rapidly approaching that, guys. Like, rapidly approaching that point. Hey, Brun, I'm new here. Brought here by Satisfactory. What is your background with space rockets? Self-taught, dude. The real question is, who are you? I am a computer animation artist by trade that 10 years ago decided aerospace engineering was cooler, and I've been self-teaching myself since. Allow myself to introduce myself. So I used Kerbal a lot. Not recently because I'm on a little bit of a break from KSP right now. I use KSP to teach people about rockets and stuff. Like, a lot of people have questions about what SpaceX does and what they do and what NASA's up to, and yeah, I can teach you that. Nobody watched streaming on Mars, yeah, right? Thing of beauty happened to me on the 25th. I actually got the family to watch the launch on the TV without the usual, or you're doing weird... You're doing... Yeah, nice, Alex, yeah. Since we're in mission control right now, can I request to have date and time back in mission control? Yeah. That's low on my priority, Sebby, but yeah. Watching you play Icarus, MSC, Hearts of Iron is fun. Don't take my games away. I don't think I ever would, Isaac. It's the bread and butter for the stream, man. Would you ever open up a can of pears and drink the syrup on stream? Do I look like a psychopath to you? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Just don't answer that. Okay, maybe a little bit, but not drink a can of pears syrup. No, I'm good. Try new games more often, maybe. I'm kind of playing the Singularity. I'm doing this thing right now, and that's honestly something I've never done on stream until last month. Just play the game that I want to play. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't really done that ever, which is fun. I enjoy it. Yeah, that was disgusting, Panther. It was gross. Jody, 8-month resub. Thank you. Is this normal? I haven't seen this one before. The water tower at 39A was spraying quite a bit before. Yeah, that happens literally every time. Yeah. The water tower does that every time. Yeah. I know people that built that sound suppression system. That happens all the time. It's just sometimes we don't see it. If it's at night or if the wind's going in the wrong direction, then the water blows away from the camera. Yeah, they prime that system every time. They top it off to get maximum hydraulic pressure to get the highest flow rate to the pad. You want more water in the water tower. Once again, that's what's called a gravity-fed sound suppression system. There's two real principal ways that you can get that amount of water to flow to the pad that fast. They got to move like an Olympic swimming pool's worth of water in probably about 15 seconds. It's a lot. There's a lot of physics behind that. A lot of people don't know. There's two ways to do that. One is the gravity-fed system. So literally Archimedes' principle. If you have an Olympic swimming pool worth of water up here, and then you have the pipe go down, and then you have it go up, and there's a valve down at the bottom here, you let that valve go, all this water will drain out and shoot onto the pad. That's what 39A and 39B use. They use a gravity-fed system. The gravity-fed system is for pad deluge and sound suppression. So they're spraying water into the flame trench, and they're spraying water onto the top of the pad. With 39B, they spray water through the mobile launcher, through Rainbirds on the ML at the bottom of SLS. That'll happen very soon. And then there's other pads like Slick 41 and Slick 40 that use a gas purge sound suppression system. So basically they have a tank full of water and they have a tank full of gas, and they let the tank of nitrogen go into the water tank, and the gases force the water out. Yeah, that's a gas purge sound suppressor. Slick 40 and Slick 41 have that. They have a huge nitrogen tank sitting next to the pad and a water tank. So, yeah. Oh, man, jeez. What will they do on the moon or Mars without water? Well, the moon and Mars have water on them, Dillbot, at the poles. You can get at them. Mars might have some water under the soil. I'm not sure if it's usable. Like, there's enough. But there's water. There's water on the moon. We know there's water on the moon. We've known that there's water on the moon for about 10 years. Yeah. Jonathan, it's messed up, isn't it? I don't know, Cupid, maybe. Still nothing beats my summer car. Nice. What is your stance on space elevators? Do you think it's possible? Of course it's possible, Mike. Why wouldn't it be? The real question is why? We don't build a space elevator right now, guys. Dude, it's not that we couldn't. I'm sure we could do the material science to figure out that. Like, I don't think that humans couldn't make that. We absolutely could. But we don't do that for the same reason why we don't build a bridge going from New York City to London. Or, I mean, not necessarily London. You get the idea. Why we don't build a bridge across the Atlantic. We could. Oh, absolutely. Sure, of course we could. Why couldn't we? That's not an insurmountable engineering goal. It's just easier to build a ship or fly in a plane. Literally, building a space elevator is something that we could do. It's just easier to build a rocket. Rockets are way easier. And rockets are prohibitively difficult. Space elevator on the moon could work. You might run into some orbital perturbations that could screw that up, Ray, but once again, same question. It'd be easier on the moon. Why don't you just build a rocket? Analogy is how I teach, Pharaoh. But yeah, why would you do that? He jumped out the window. Why would someone do that? If anybody gets that reference, good on you. Yeah, sure. Of course it can be done. Duh. The space elevator doesn't break any practical laws of physics. Yeah, it's not like we're talking about making a warp drive here or something, which might be theoretically possible. Who knows? Nice, Vagabond. Hell yeah. Good for you. Yeah, it's easier to just build a rocket. And building a rocket is already very difficult. You don't need to add difficulty to an already difficult problem. That's program? You don't need to add difficulty to an already difficult thing to figure out. That's like the opposite of good engineering. Anybody can make a Rube Goldberg machine, right? Anybody can make a machine that does a task. The key is making a machine or a system do a task the quickest, well, not the quickest, the simplest, I guess. That's the mark of a good engineer. Any idiot can build a bridge across a gap. A good engineer will build a bridge across a gap that barely stands up, right? It's funny because that's getting into what's called statics, and bridge engineering is engineered with a safety factor of like 10 to 1, so it's not a bridge that barely stands up. It's a bridge that can stand up, can hold its weight factor by like a factor of 10. That's usually the safety factor for bridges, but that's another story. Would it be cheaper to transport goods with a space elevator? Phil, I don't think so. I think it would be easier to, like, space elevators would be cool. You know what would be cooler? Building ships in space. I think that would be cooler. Like, can you imagine a space station like the size of an oil platform sitting up in space where you build the spacecraft there?